White people, listen to me good now. You can't produce us. It's a mathematical, genetic impossibility. So if you were the first, we couldn't have got here. The black man has in himself the whole range of color, because black is not a color. It is the essence from which all color comes. Come on. If the first man were white, the yellow man couldn't even get here. Because two white people cannot produce anything other than what they are. Talk to me. I'm not teaching black supremacy. I'm just teaching actual facts. White people, listen to me good now. You can't produce us. It's a mathematical, genetic impossibility. Black man is the mother and father of all human beings. And no matter what science you think you know, you can't prove different. If white people were the first on our planet, we could never be, because it's a genetical, mathematical impossibility for two white people to produce what you see in South Sudan. It's not hate. It's not racism. It's just a fact. If you were made out of blackness, black is not a color. Black is the origin of color. All color comes out of this. Did you know that there wouldn't be a white person if we didn't exist? Did you know that all the races came from us? Did you know that you are the mother and the father of every human being that lives on this planet, that they all started from the black man and woman? They're not going to teach you this in school. And you probably didn't go far enough in school to study genetics. But I want to share this with you because you need to rap about this. There was a great white anthropologist. His name is S.B. Leakey, L-E-A-K-E. You can Google him, look him up. Leakey wanted to find the origin of man. He may have stopped in Europe, but he didn't stay there, because life did not originate in Europe. You know where he ended up? In Africa, looking at the bones of ancient people. Now, did you know there's a science that they could take your bone and say, oh, this is a black person, or this is a Native American, or this is an Asian, or this is a white person, because your genetic structure is such that you have the strongest of bones. They tried to make slaves of our native brothers and sisters but it destroyed them. But the more they put on us, we survived. Now, do you know why you black? Why are you black, brother? Because you are a direct descendant of the originator of the heavens and the earth. You are the people of God. You have so much in you from the originator. All you need is a proper environment. And that environment will bring out of you what is in you from the originator. Now, everything in this universe is based on atoms. Atoms. You can break down everything that you see. It breaks down to atoms. Is that right? So the basic, we say, unit of everything in creation is the atom. And you can break the atom down even further, but the atom is the basic unit that everything in this universe is built on. Okay? So if we look at the word atom, all Semitic languages deal with the phonetics, the consonants rather than the vowels. So you have A here and O. You can cancel that out. But the T and the M are important. Because in language, sometimes the D is interchangeable with the T. So if you have an A here, a D, and you put another vowel A there, and an M, you have Adam. When you break down the atom, it is the beginning of everything, and Adam is the genesis of a cycle of history. Grafting out of us, the original man, a people that are called colored people. Colored people means that which has been changed from its original state. You are not colored. Colored is the past participle of the verb to color. And when you color something, you alter it, you change it. You are not altered, you are not changed. You are as God created you. You are the original people of the earth, and that's why your skin is black. You are black not because you're cursed. You are black because that's the nature of the womb, and you are the first creatures to come out of the womb of God's creation. Take it or leave it alone. We are family. When I see you, I see the God that created you, that created me, that created us. We are family. Our root is God himself. Yes, sir. So the Elijah Muhammad said, whenever you see a black man, you're looking at God. Well, I'm going to tell you, whenever you see the Mexican, whenever you see the Puerto Rican, whenever you see the Haitian, wherever you see your people of color, you're looking at God. So how do you act when you look at God? They say that, how can you love God whom you've never seen and hate your brother that you see every day? It's you. You're a great people.
Yes, sir. It's you. You are wonderful people. It's you. You are God's people.
So, guys, thank you for making up to this far end. And one of the central claims discussed in this message is the idea that black people are the original people, guys. According to this perspective, humanity began with a population of people who had dark skin and populations that later migrated into different parts of the world gradually developed different physical characteristics. Now, guys, this brings us to one of the most interesting parts of the discussion. That is melanin. All of you know melanin. Melanin is the pigment responsible for much of the color in human skin, hair, and eyes. It also plays an important role in protecting the skin from ultraviolet radiation. And because people living closer to the equator generally experience greater exposure to sunlight, populations in those regions historically developed higher levels of pigmentation. As human population migrated into different environments, naturally or natural selection contributed to difference in skin pigmentation over very long periods of time. That scientific history is important because it helps explain why human beings can look so different while still belonging to the same species. But Farrakhan's discussion goes beyond biology. For him, he says that a melanin becomes part of a much larger conversation about human identity and origin. And this is where the subject becomes more controversial. The idea that black people are the original people is often presented in these discussions as an argument about humanity's African origins. Modern scientific evidence does strongly support Africa as the birthplace of modern humans. Also, researchers have found some of the oldest evidence of Homo sapiens in Africa, and the genetic studies show that modern humans share deep ancestry connected to Africa population. But the scientific evidence is more complicated than simply dividing humanity into modern racial categories. Race, as we understand it today, developed as population changed and mixed over thousands of years. Human history is therefore much more interconnected than the categories people often use today might suggest. And guys, that brings us back to migration. Imagine early human population gradually moving away from the original environments. They encounter different climates, different level of sunlight, different deities, and different ecological conditions. And also not forgetting over countless generations, population can develop different characteristics. Skin pigmentation is one example. The amount of melanin in human skin is influenced by genetics, and those genetic variations were shaped in part by environmental pressure such as ultraviolet radiation. So, when people discuss why human beings have different skin tones, there's a fascinating story behind it. It is a story of migration, adaptation, we have genetics and survival. But there's another question underneath all of this. Why does this history matter so much? How many people, especially within conversations about black identity, the answer is simple. History matters because it influences how people understand themselves. If a community believes that its history has been ignored, distorted, or reduced to only a few chapters, there can be a strong desire to recover those stories, guys. And this is one reason, this is one reason discussions about Africa history continue to generate so much interest. For centuries, African civilization exists long before modern colonial borders were created. There were kingdoms, there were trading networks, universities, also there were political systems and complex societies across the continent. Yet, popular discussions of world history have not always given those stories the same attention. That has created frustrations among people who believe Africa's contribution have been underestimated. And this is why Farrakhan's message connects history with identity. The argument is not simply about skin color, it's about dignity, it's about ancestry, it's about asking who gets to tell history and whose stories are considered important. At the same time, there's an important distinction that should not be ignored. Some claims made in religious or political teachings about melanin, human origins, or the biological meaning of a race go beyond what mainstream scientific evidence establishes. Melanin is a real biological pigment with important functions, but scientific research does not establish that it is a mystical substance connecting one racial group to an originator in the way some interpretations suggest. Similarly, saying that modern black people are the original people is different from saying that modern humans originated in Africa. So, the second statement is strongly supported by evidence. The first involves a particular interpretation of human identity and history. That distinction is important, guys, because understanding history doesn't require us to reject science. And respecting science doesn't require us to ignore culture perspective. We can examine both. We can ask what the evidence tells us. We can also ask why certain historical ideas became important to different communities, and perhaps that is the bigger lesson from this discussion. Humanity has shared history that stretches back far beyond modern nations, borders, and racial categories. The story begins much earlier than the society we recognize today, and Africa plays a central role in that story. But the story doesn't end there. Human beings moved, they adapted, they mixed, they built civilization, they created language, culture, religion, and political systems. And over thousands of years, humanity became incredible, diverse. So when someone hears a message about black people being the original people, the conversation doesn't simply stop at agreement or disagreement. It should encourage deeper questions. Why does the evidence actually tell us about human origin? How has African history been represented? How should people understand their identity while also recognizing the shared history humanity? Those are the bigger questions than simply asking who has the darkest skin. They take us into genetics. They also take us into anthropology. And they take us into complicated relationship between science, culture, religion, and identity. For black communities around the world, recovering historical knowledge can be deeply meaningful. Knowing that Africa history is much larger than the stories of slavery and colonialism can change how people understand the past. It can remind people that Africa history did not begin with the European contact, and it can encourage younger generation to look deeper into the civilization and people who come before them. But the strongest understanding of history comes from examining evidence from multiple sources. That is genetics and anthropology. So guys, when these sources are brought together, the story of humanity became even more fascinating, and that story tells us something remarkable. Despite of our differences in appearance, human beings are deeply connected. The differences we see today developed through a long story or history of migration, adaptation, and population changes, guys. So, it is important of us understanding where humanity came from. And it is important of us allowing people to explore their identity without forgetting the evidence that connects all of humanity. So guys, the conversation surrounding Louis Farrakhan teachings will undoubtedly continue. Some people will agree with this interpretation, but one thing is clear. Questions about humanity or human origin, Africa history, continue to fascinate people around the world. So guys, we should also, because of the stories of humanity is much bigger than any single political movement, religious teaching, or racial category. And the more we learn about the story, the more fascinating it becomes. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like it, and also you can comment. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and God bless you.